I got this body lifting weights, 12 ounces at a time. Hey there, folks. I am the Mighty Plantain. Thanks for checking out this video. This is something new for me, or at least the brewery is new for me. This is Breckenridge Breweries 15 can sampler. I came across this at the local beer store, and I couldn't pass it up. Fine Colorado ales. This is from Colorado. What they've got in here, they've got a vanilla porter, Breck lager, hop Peak IPA, Avalanche Amber Ale, and a strawberry sky as a Kolsch style. So I believe the lineup that I'm going to do here, I'm going to do the lager first, the strawberry sky Kolsch, and I'm putting and then I'm going to go with the amber ale. I kind of hesitated there. I don't know whether the Kolsch should go before the amber or not, but because the Kolsch is more of a fruited beer, I'm thinking it's going to have a lighter flavor. I could be wrong about that. But then the amber ale, the vanilla porter, and then the IPA. Always put the IPA last, folks. I don't care how dark the stout or porter in the pack is. The IPA always goes last. And this is a way to spot a rookie bartender, not a rookie bartender, but a rookie beer expert, I guess, versus somebody who's done a little bit of homework. And this is the case for anybody pouring at a microbrewery or at a local bar that does flights. You always put the IPA last because the bitterness of the hops can actually overwhelm most other beers. Even a very bitter stout that has a lot of coffee notes, the IPA could be hoppy enough to actually overwhelm that. So you always put that last to keep your palate as fresh as possible for the beers. And you should, other than the IPAs, which you should arrange in order of lower to higher IBUs, which is your international bitterness units, you should arrange the beers prior to your IPAs in the order of lighter to darker, typically. Anyway, there's other things like sours and Belgian styles that can come into play there flavor-wise, but in general, lighter to darker than your IPAs. But most of you watching this already know that, so I'm preaching to the choir. Let's start off with Breckenridge's Breck lager. Golden and refreshing with a crisp finish. Knock the box over, yeah. Anyway, there's those 5 different styles, 3 each in the pack. It was actually pretty reasonably priced, so not a bad investment, even if the beers aren't that good, which I'm hoping they are good. But a good way to get 15 craft beers at a decent price. That's pretty effervescent. Definitely smells like a lager. I can smell it from back here, but that's it's a very clear looking, lighter. Oops, just woke up the neighbors. There we go. It's a very clear looking, light beer. No hint of haziness in there. Nice, bright yellow color to it. Look at all those bubbles coming up. That's actually really cool. That's a pretty effervescent beer, and I like that. Yeah, like I said, definitely a lager smell to it. It's just got that general beeriness like you get from most American beers. There's maybe a hint of bitterness there. I don't know if it's a hoppy bitterness or not. They didn't have an IBU rating on here, so not that I noticed. I'm just looking. 4.5% ABV. Yeah. So it's probably not a hoppy bitterness that I'm picking up on, but there's some other flavor component that's making this bitterness come through in the smell. I mean, it's not unpleasant. It smells good. Not bad. It's pretty smooth. Yeah, just a little smooth, somewhat crisp. It's just a good general lager. It's kind of a beer flavored beer. That's probably what they were going for, just Breck lager. Probably just going for your basic standard lager. Now, I hate to say this in the terms of any craft beer, but a lot of them go for this with their flagship. It's like a Bud Light or Coors Light in the sense that it's basically just a general beer flavored beer that's easy to drink, and it's going to appeal to beer drinkers, all beer drinkers. So with that in mind, I'm hitting this with a 3 out of 5. That's a slightly above average rating. You know, your Budweisers and those, they come in at a 2.5 these days. Typically, I know sometimes I get picky and I only rate them lower just because I'm so used to good craft beers. But anyway, this particular one's getting a 3 out of 5 because it is a slightly above average American lager. Whew, pardon. It's decent. It's good. I could drink this all day long. But there's not much there that's distinguishing it from the crowd other than the fact that it's smooth and easy to drink with a hint of crispness. So there again, 2.5 is average. It's just got a few points above your average lager. Well, like I said, easy to drink. And it is slightly higher in ABV than most American lagers. So it's got a couple of different things to recommend. But again, it's a wide appeal beer, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm going to finish this one up, and we're going to move on to that Strawberry Sky. And we are at the Strawberry Sky, number 2 in this pack. Fruit-forward Kolsch style ale with a delicate finish. And not a whole lot of info on this. 4.8% ABV, so a little bit higher. In terms of actual planning the evening, I'm doing this in the reverse order that you should. You should always go from heavier ABV beers to lower ABV beers. You know, unless of course you're going for taste, which is what we're doing tonight. So. Ooh, I can smell that strawberry the second I poured it out. That's promising. And again, pretty effervescent to start. Not as many bubbles coming up through that as there were on the last beer. So somewhat less effervescent, but definitely still has a nice light color, slightly hazy. And I thought I saw a hint of pink as I was pouring it out, but I'm not seeing it now, so it could have just been my imagination. But we are getting a little darker in the beer. I mean, it's a Kolsch, so that's to be expected. And so is the haze, especially with the fruited beer. Oh. Definitely has a nice strawberry aroma to it with that hint of just general beery finish. Again, a little bit of bitterness there, but it's less so than I got with the lager. But yeah, it's got a very pleasant strawberry smell to it. At some point I gotta stop sniffing it and actually drink it though, so. Now for me, Kolsch's tend to lean in a little bit towards the bready side, and I'm definitely getting that with this, with the strawberry up front. And it's a nice blend between tart and sweet strawberry. Yeah, tart and sweet strawberry up front, fading to a general beeriness, and then it's got a bit of breadiness in the finish. It's almost reminiscent of like a strawberry shortcake. I mean, as soon as I got that breadiness in the finish, it triggered that thought of strawberry shortcake. It's definitely not as sweet there's no whipped cream component or anything like that. But again, strawberries and bread, that it's going to trigger that thought. But it's smooth. It's got a nice light mouthfeel to it. I should have mentioned the lager had a nice light mouthfeel to it as well. I think I was more focused on some other aspects of that beer. So, but this also has a nice light mouthfeel to it. And again, that tart and sweet strawberry up front, hint of breadiness in the finish with a general beeriness in the middle. It's pleasant, good, easy to drink. I think I'm dropping a 3.5 on this one. Really good, really easy to drink. Got some distinctive flavor to it. Like I said, it gives me those thoughts of strawberry shortcake. So definitely a decent above average beer, well above average. It's just not giving me anything distinct or different enough to push it up into that 4 or higher category for me. Yeah, I think that's about all I got to say about it. But yeah, decent beer. I'm liking it. Again, this is another one I could drink all day long. So I'm going to finish it up and move on to the Avalanche Amber Ale. All right, so now we're doing the Avalanche Amber Ale. Caramel malt body with a light hop character. 5% ABV. So we're continuing the trend of drinking the lower to higher ABV beers, which is, again, the opposite of what you want to do most times. Ooh, that's got a nice amber color to it. Again, another... Whoa. So far, had a good run pouring out heads on these guys. Effervescence is definitely not a problem for these beers. It's got a nice amber color to it. Just a shade lighter than something like Sam Adams Boston Lager, but the same general color. I like that. It was very effervescent on the pour. A few bubbles coming up, so a little less effervescent on the settle. Pardon. Not much haze or anything. It's a pretty clear beer, so that's cool. See, I thought I caught a hint of the aroma as I was pouring it, and it had a general beeriness to it, but now I'm actually not getting much. It's a very neutral aroma. Well, that happens. I mean, it's normal. I mean, it's definitely an amber ale. Up front, it's got a medium light mouthfeel, so it's a little heavier than the other two, but not a great deal so. It's got some roasty character to it. Maybe a little bit of sweetness in the middle, and then some slightly hoppy bitterness in the finish. I'm not getting any particular hop notes. I'm not getting like any citrus or pine. Maybe a hint of earthiness. Maybe a hint of earthiness, maybe a hint of grassiness, but nothing that's really jumping out at me. Now I'm I'm actually impressed by the fact that I'm getting a little bit of earthiness and grassiness, because I'm keyed towards citrus and pine primarily. So to get a little bit of some of the other hop esters that I don't normally pick up on is interesting and nice for me. But again, it's pretty subtle, and it's just a general hoppiness. Mostly I'm getting that nice roasty malt character with a hint of sweetness afterwards, and then the hoppy bitterness is coming through in the finish, and then the aftertaste is almost where I'm getting the earthy and grassy notes. Again, it's another easy to drink crisp beer, so it's pretty decent. But there's nothing really jumping out at me and making me go wow, or standing out enough for me to bump it up to like a 4. So I'm gonna hit this one also with a 3.5 out of 5. It's another really solid beer, and just nothing particularly crazy about it. Which again, it makes all 3 of these so far pretty drinkable, and all 3 of them have been above average. Just 2 of them have been a little bit more so. Pardon. And so I always backtrack like that, because sometimes when I talk about the beers like that, I feel like I'm being unfairly negative towards them, but I don't think it's that negative. I'm just honestly telling you what I think. And yeah, you know what? 2 3.5s. It's an above average rating, so. I don't feel that bad about giving that rating to beers from breweries that I am vastly more familiar with. So I should just stop apologizing in my own head and just finish out the rating. Anyway, another 3.5 out of 5. Decent beer. I'm going to finish it up, and we're going to grab the vanilla porter. All right, now the vanilla porter. Roasted malts with notes of vanilla. Okay, that's exactly what I would expect. 5.4% ABV. So once again, we're moving up on the alcohol content, which isn't typically a good idea. You should be going down. But another nice effervescent beer. Got a good pour on that one too. Huh. Ooh, now, only a little bit of light coming through there, especially up here where the beer gets thicker. Where the glass gets thicker, therefore the volume of beer gets thicker. But you can still see it's got a nice light brown color to it, but still also quite dark. Not a lot of bubbles coming up from the bottom. Doesn't look very hazy. There's enough light getting through down here that I can see it looks like a fairly clear beer. I can't actually see through it, but when it gets up here where the glass is thicker and therefore the beer is thicker, I cannot see through it. So it is a nice dark porter. It's got a great brown color to it, like it should. I'm actually getting hints of vanilla in the finish. No, in the aroma there. But up front, pretty roasty. Again, to be expected. Got a bit of a medium mouthfeel to it. Quite roasty. Like just on the edge of being burned. But just shy of that burned taste that it's still a nice roasty flavor. Roasty and grainy. A little bit of vanilla coming through in the finish. I think it was actually stronger in the aroma than it is in the taste. Again, smooth and easy to drink, nice crisp feel to it. Decent roasted porter with some vanilla mixed in. I mean, we got it. I think we got another 3.5 out of 5. It is exactly what it says it is. It's a good, easy to drink beer. It's great, but just nothing distinguishing it enough to bump it up past a somewhat above average beer. Excuse me. I think they're all catching up to me. Now, yeah, it's another beer I could drink all day long. So, yeah, another nice 3.5 out of 5. I'm going to finish this one up and we'll move on to the fourth and final. I said fourth and final. I should have said fifth and final. Sorry, I'm not used to doing variety packs that have more than 4 different beers in them. Thank you, Sam Adams. They used to do 6 per season. Now it's down to 4. Anyway, I'm not going to go off on that tangent tonight because we're talking about Breckenridge Brewing beers. Now, this is their Hop Peak IPA, complex and aromatic with notes of citrus and pine. Oh, look at that. I pick up on citrus and pine more than anything else, like I said before. So, should be pretty flavorful for me. 6.5% ABV. So, once again, we're going up in alcohol content. Now, just for the record, I mentioned earlier going from lighter to darker beers until you get to the IPAs, and those should always go last. That being said, I do always cleanse with water in between beers when I do these variety packs in one night. So, yeah, in one night. Like I've ever done a variety pack in more than one night. I've done them on into the next day. Anyway, I'm talking about the old Sierra Nevada beer camp variety packs that had 12 different beers in them, but those are other videos. I'll try to remember to post links to them down here, but we're not talking about those either. I keep getting distracted. We're talking about Breckenridge, and I don't want to distract from their beers. So, we have a hazy IPA with a nice light yellow color to it. Quite effervescent on the pour, but again, just a few bubbles coming up after the pour. What a bad looking beer. With the light on it, it's almost got like a golden glow to it. Quite nice. Pine up front, citrus after that. Pardon. There. I should try and pound some more of those burps out afterwards. I'm not filming anything after this, so. Yeah. Piney with a hint of citrus in the aroma. Ooh. Oh, that is seriously piney. It's got a nice medium light mouthfeel. Very piney, almost cloyingly piney, but not quite. With citrus in the finish. I mean, it's got a decent malt backbone to it. There's some body, like I said, a nice medium mouthfeel, or medium light mouthfeel, but medium to medium light. But there's no malt flavor that interferes or overlaps with the hoppiness. I'm mostly getting hops out of that. Heavy pine, with a hint of citrus in the finish. And again, it's such heavy pine that it's on the cusp of being cloying. And there's that resiny. Experienced IPA drinkers will know what I'm talking about. When you've got heavy pine character, and it's almost resiny. It's on the cusp of being dank as well. And dankness is an actual hop character, and it's hard to describe if you haven't experienced it. But it's almost there, but not quite. Same way as it's almost piney enough to be cloying, but not quite. It's like they push that right to the limit. And I would say that the citrus notes that I'm getting are the word escapes me once again. I always make this mistake and I always forget to look it up. But when you're dealing with a citrus fruit, you've got the skin, which is where the zest is. You've got the actual fruit, which is the sweet, juicy part. And then there's that white flesh in between the skin and the actual fruit itself. And there is a name for it that escapes. It's not the rind. There's a specific name for it on the citrus fruit. But it's like this citrusy, bittery flesh that has a certain flavor to it. And that's the citrus that I'm getting here. It's that citrus, but and again, this is also related to the hoppiness, that bitterness where it's almost on the very cusp of being unpleasant. So it's another easy to drink, great IPA, and it's almost too much. So again, this is another 3.5 out of 5 for me. Which I'm going to say it again, 3.5 isn't bad, folks. 2.5 is average, so 3.5 is a pretty good rating for any beer. And I hand those out left and right because these days it really takes a lot to impress me, I think, because I've had so many different beers. Or maybe I'm just picky and a little bitchy, who knows. Tell me. Hit me up down in the comments, the email link down below. Let me know what you think about these beers, whether you think I'm a bitch or not. Still, either way, I'd love to hear from you. But here's my thoughts overall on this Breckenridge pack. We've got 4 slightly above average beers, 1 just above average beer, but we've also got 5 beers that have wide appeal. So this might be what they were going for. It might not. I don't know. But you've got a lager that's going to get any beer drinker interested. Okay, Breckenridge. I drink Bud Light all the time. I drink Coors Light all the time. Well, here, try this Breckenridge lager because that's what I've got. Well, that's actually pretty good. It's close to what I drink, but it's got more character. Okay, so there's your in. And then you start hitting them with the other types of beers. Well, this is a vanilla porter. Try this one out. Oh, that's really good. It's a starter pack for your non-craft beer loving friends. And you know what? It's a decent, easy drinking pack for your craft beer loving friends too. So overall, this is a good pack of beers to have. Any time of year, any place, whatever. You're going to have 3 lagers for people who just want that basic beer. You're going to have IPAs for people who like IPAs, an amber ale for, people who like something with a little more character. You're going to have the vanilla porter for people who like a nice, darker, heavier beer. And you're going to have strawberry sky for those folks who like the fruited beers. Women. Sorry. All that aside, it's a sampler pack. It's got a wide appeal. They're good beers. I actually want to try some more Breckenridge beers after having these. I don't know how many I can find in my area, but they got their shit together, They make decent beers that fall within the proper category and have all the flavors that they should. Pardon. Overall, it's a good pack to buy. And at the price I got it in, it might have been on sale. I don't regret getting it. I would buy it again. I could load my fridge up with this, and I've got a beer for everybody. And I've got 5 beers that I like. So, nothing wrong with that. Anyway, overall, with 1 3 and 4 3.5s, out of 5 to possible score. Decent pack. Again, the comments, the email link down there, that's where you can discuss this with me. Love to hear from you. Don't forget to like and share the video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel while you're down there. Till next time, folks, thanks for tuning in. Get the Breckenridge sampler. Check it out. Cheers.